Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dagny. In today's video, we're going to go over some exercises that revolve around the forward ocho. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. The first exercise that we're going to work on is concentrating on ochos that are about 90 degrees. The degree of the ocho is going to vary based on what the leader is trying to lead. A bigger ocho might be at 180 degrees, and smaller ochos can be quite tiny, even almost linear. So in our first exercise, we're going to work on making 90 degree or about quarter turn ochos. When I'm doing a forward ocho, I'm thinking about keeping my dissociation towards my partner. So if this is my front direction, I'm always trying to keep my chest going forward. I'm going in a 90-degree angle, so basically from corner to corner. What I'm thinking about is extending, pushing off, keeping my torso towards my partner, then completing the turn. So I'm just going to do that at 90 degrees. And back. That as many times as it takes to feel comfortable that you're not wobbling and you can do it completely on your own. A lot of confidence comes from being able to do a step all on your own. The next thing we're going to do is do ochos at 180 degrees. This is just to build up the technical skill and ability to differentiate the different degrees that we might have to do in ocho. And so the first time we were doing 90 degrees, and now we're going to go on a straight line. This is a little bit more difficult because we do have to have a greater dissociation. So I'm really thinking about making 180-degree turns with my feet. If you're truly going 180 degrees, you shouldn't be moving slowly forward because we are going from one side to the next. But it's okay if you do go a little bit forwards. Do that as many times as you need to feel confident at 180 degrees that you can execute an ocho. It's the same exact principles, but this time the dissociation is greater. I'm taking the step, dissociating, and then bringing the foot in. Step, dissociating, and bringing the foot in. And I'm just doing that as much as I can to feel stable on that standing leg. And now you might be thinking, Dagny, that's super easy. I know how to do ochos. So let's try this challenge. We're going to practice again our 180-degree ochos. However, this time we're really going to be testing the strength and the balance of our standing leg. This is what we're going to do. So usually the forward ochos just simply look like this. And so this time when we take our forward step, we're going to extend, push off, lift our back leg, and really use the dissociation to get ourselves around. Once again, we're going to step, lift the leg, dissociate, bring that leg up, and then back to the V. It's a little trickier, but I'm sure you can do it. One more time. It's okay if you feel like falling. This one is super tricky. You're in heels. If heels are too tricky to use for this exercise, try doing it in socks. It's a really great way to start to improve your balance, the coordination. We're going to tend to want to fall outside of our foot for this. So really we need to be grounded through the center of our foot. I'm thinking about channeling my knees over the first and the second big toe, and I'm really using the dissociation to get around. I'm really planting my leg down for the first initial lift. And when I'm going around, I'm really using the dissociation of my chest open to make the momentum to get around, and then I collect. Give this one a try. Our next set of exercises are going to be a bit of an embellishment on the forward ocho. First, we're going to try crossing back, and then we're going to try crossing front. Let's try the one crossing back first. When we do ochos, as we've been going over, we're typically collecting into the V position for the ocho, but this time instead we're going to collect in a cross back and then turn. And then we can continue crossing back and turning. When I do the ocho, even though it looks like both of my feet are on the floor, I'm actually having the weight in the standing leg, and I'm just skimming with the other foot. So I'm not doing the turn with weight in both feet and really with heavy difficulty moving myself around. No, it's quite an illusion that I'm on both feet, but in reality, I can actually keep the foot up. And so the ocho is being executed still on that standing leg. So to do a few in a row, it's going to look like this. Cross back, collect, cross back, collect, cross back, collect, cross back, and collect. You can try that a few times until you get used to having a lot of dexterity with the feet. Again, you can even try like I did with the hyper exaggeration of that foot up, or you can keep the cross on the floor. It's up to you. So with the hyper exaggeration, it looks like this. Cross, collect, cross, collect, cross, collect, cross, collect, cross, collect. You can vary this too, as we were doing before with the angles, either a 90-degree angle or 180-degree angle. And so play around with the distance too, and as well the distance of the steps, because you can take a huge step and a huge ocho, or you can take a tiny step with a tiny little ocho. So it's up to you. Definitely play around and practice this. We just did ochos with a cross towards the back side of the leg, but this time we're going to be doing our forward ochos with a cross in the front. It's going to look like this. We're going to take our first step forward with the ocho, bring our leg into a cross in the front, still maintaining the V position, not signaling, keeping that foot nice and active. And on my standing leg, I'm going to complete the turn. So this is an embellishment that can be done on the forward ocho. We take our step, we bring our foot in front of us, we cross it back to the other side, dissociate starting with the torso and come around. Once again, step, cross, and turn. Step, cross, turn. From the side, it's going to look like this. When I'm doing this particular embellishment, I'm making sure that my knees aren't flopping out. And what I mean by that is, when I take my step forward, right here, I can have my knees open and not very ladylike in tango. So here, we want to keep our knees and our hips facing forward, so we're keeping everything nice and tight. Here, keeping everything tight as I take a step forward, not here. It's a little hard to see with the skirt. So we're not going here. This is not as pretty. Possible, but again, not as pretty. Instead, we're going to keep it nice and tight. We're going to take that front step, tuck it in, and keep everything nice and tight together. Tuck and turn. This too can also be done with a really big ocho or a very small ocho. So if I'm doing a huge ocho, I might really sweep that foot around and make that part of the embellishment. Or you can make this super tiny, really keeping it close to the body. So that's up to you, whichever style suits you. Try doing both, that way you can incorporate both into your dance. I find that this embellishment itself I don't do super often because it can sometimes throw off the flow of the movement since we don't know what the next step is going to be, but it's still something that when it's appropriate to use is very, very pretty. The last forward ocho exercise we're going to do today is our forward ochos with taps. Again, you can do your ochos super tiny or super big. A bigger ocho allows for more taps to fit in, but with just one tap, it's going to look like this. We do an ocho, tap, and collect. Ocho, tap, and collect. Tap, collect. Ocho, tap, collect. You can also make the tap as big or as small as you want. So you can just do a small little tap, or if there's an appropriate amount of space, just remember, be aware of who's behind you because you don't want to kick anyone. You can do a really big tap. So it's up to you. And if we have more room, we can do more taps. And so in ocho, say at 180 degrees, we can click 1, 2, 3 perhaps, 3 times. It's very tricky, especially for me on my non-dominant side, which is my left side, in order to fit in a lot of taps. If you want to use something like a wall, that can be helpful. It would look like this. So I'm making sure that when I'm doing these ochos, I'm keeping my knees together. This is the theme today. When we're doing our ochos, we want to make sure here that we're not tapping and sort of losing the beautiful structure of our feet. We're keeping these taps with our knees nice and tight. So tap, tap, and tap. And I'm able to move because I'm keeping the weight on my standing leg towards my toes. I'm not turning in my heels. When I'm stepping, I have the weight in my forward leg. I'm doing my tap, second tap, and third tap, all keeping the knees nice and tight. And I can bring the feet into collection. This is great if you're trying to mark something on the music. It's a nice embellishment to do that's really not noticeable to the leader. We're staying with the timing of the music. But it is, again, like I said, trickier on the non-dominant side, I would say. So sometimes I have to figure out why I can only do a certain number of taps on my left side where my right side is super coordinated and my foot is drawing pictures. So that's super normal. Definitely try this out. You might not fit in 3 taps, 1 or 2 is fine, but play around with it. It definitely gets easier as you practice it more. And like I said, although I don't want to get super used to using a wall, if you do need to use a wall for support, especially counting through the taps, that's totally fine. Just try to put as little pressure as possible and use it more as a spatial guide rather than a really big support for your weight. And that is it for today's forward ocho exercises video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below. I would love to help clarify anything else, and I'll see you in next week's video. Bye.
And that is it for today's forward ocho video.